नमस्कार दोस्तों और जय हिंद। आप सभी को स्वागत है इन माय चैनल 1971 वॉर बुक सीरीज। तो दोस्तों, आज हम ब्रिगेडियर राजीव विलियम्स के साथ बात करने वाले हैं रिगार्डिंग हिज एक्सपीरियंसेस इन द 1971 वॉर ऑन द वेस्टर्न फ्रंट। He and his battalion, the 10 Guards, was deployed to fight in the Shakargarh sector. He was a young second lieutenant, just commissioned, and he never saw battle before. This was going to be his first fighting, and being commissioned in the 10 Guards, he was just being introduced to the unit when war broke out with Pakistan. Shakargarh sector में आप लोगों को सबको पता है, one of the heaviest fightings took place on the Western Front. He will be giving us a brief introduction about himself and about the battle regarding the 10 Guards portion, and उसके बाद he will be talking about his own life and his experiences in the armed forces. He commanded the prestigious 8 Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry and the Drass Brigade. Also, a veteran in the Kargil war, he had seen it all. His battalion, the battalion he commanded, the 8 Jack Li, is one of the most decorated battalions in the most coldest areas of the world, in the Siachen glacier. So to know about the 1971 war and to know about his contributions in the Indian Armed Forces, let's welcome Brigadier Rajiv Williams to our program today. Before coming to the 1971 war, sir, I would like to have a brief introduction of yours and your, I would say, life before joining the Indian Armed Forces. If you could start with that, sir.
Okay. Good evening to you, Dev. It's nice to connect over here. I'm Brigadier Rajiv Williams, and I come from Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. When I was actually enrolled into the army, I did my schooling in Lucknow, in the hostel in La Martiniere College, and my mother brought me up. My father passed away much earlier, and therefore she had to work hard, and I managed to get into the Indian Military Academy. We had 5 siblings. We lost one, so we got four of us. And I joined the army in 1970.
Okay.
When I was just 18 years old, and just 2 years later, in 71 November, on the date of my birthday, was my graduation ceremony, and I was commissioned into 10th Battalion, the Brigade of Guards, 10 Guards.
Okay.
And that's when actually I joined the army, and my motivation, of course, remained the fact much younger when I was in whichever class. In 62, I remember, during the Indo-China War, when I was quite motivated to join the army myself. And of course, that's how it turned out. And straight from that time when I was enrolled, on the day that we got commissioned, we went straight to battle in the 71 war. We had just 14 days of service when the war broke out. So we were actually baptized in war. And being baptized in war is the learnings of the Indian Military Academy. When we were being put through a battle inoculation, when the war actually commenced, was a very difficult time, those first few days. But gradually, of course, we got quite used to it. So that's how I came to 10 Guards on commissioning. And we went straight to the Shakargarh sector, that is entered from the area of Gurdaspur.
Now, sir, before we go to the war itself, I would like to know a bit about your battalion, the 10 Guards, and if you could give me a brief orbat or any kind of introduction on the battalion and how the action started, because I think in November it was like the situation was clear that something is going to happen. So, if you could talk about that readiness and preparations of your battalion for the actions upcoming.
Excellent. War. See, as I told you that from the IMA itself, we went straight to the battlefront. Before that, my battalion, 10 Guards, at that stage was in Sagar, in a peaceful peacetime location, when they were mobilized in the month of late October. when they were mobilized and moved to Sagar, from Sagar to Pathankot and Pathankot to Gurdaspur area.
Okay.
Nabipur was the place actually where it moved. So I must tell you the story that when I was commissioned, that time we got warrants. The warrants meaning that railway warrant that you get to join your battalions. So my warrant was for Sagar because the battalion was supposed to be in Sagar. And when I reached the railway station at Lucknow to board the train, I was informed by the MCO, that is the movement control officer, who's stationed at various stations. And here in Lucknow, he says that your battalion is not there in Sagar, and therefore you need to have your warrant changed. Your warrant for the train has to be changed from Sagar to Pathankot, that is the nearest railway station. And from there, somebody will pick you up and then take you to the transit camp, and from transit camp you will be dispatched to your battalion. So it came as a bit of a shock, you know. But one was not aware about these details. But I'm glad we got some time. I was probably an hour before the train arrived. And the MCO said, just don't worry about it. The train won't leave without you guys. So there's not only myself, but there were some other young officers, second lieutenants, also at the railway station, who were joining their battalions in locations which are different to what was stated in the railway warrants. So we were all packed into a vehicle from the MCO to the Lucknow Eastern Command sub-area. And I remember sub-area Lucknow, we went there in uniforms and all that, and we said, this is what has happened, we need to change our warrants. And immediately our warrants were changed, amazingly. I mean, everything was being mobilized. So they must be aware that there will be cases like this where young officers from commissioning would not know where to go. So we were given different warrants, and then I came back to the railway station. Sure enough, the train was standing in platform number 1 with the MCO there, not letting the train go till the time we boarded. And I remember my mother came to see me off, and it was quite an emotional story because we knew that something is happening. We knew that war was breaking out, but civilians also knew that war is imminent. And that's how I boarded the train from Lucknow to Pathankot, and at Pathankot to the transit camp, and then my battalion had sent my vehicle to pick me up and take me to my battalion. So we went straight to the field area in the area of Nabipur, and that's when I went to my company. And the usual fun time also takes place in the battalion when you join for the first time. There's somebody acting as your helper, called a Sahayk at that time, Batman. Those days it was known as a Batman.
I think at that time the Batman thing was still there. I think it's still
that's what
not
I'm saying.
there now.
No, now you call them Sahayks. Over the years, the name changed. And now in peacetime you don't even have that, but in field areas I believe it still carry on. But I'm saying 71 November 14th, the date of my birth, the date of my commission, 20-year-old moving straight to battle. And here when I enter the unit, we are in tentage, so 180-pounder or 112-pounders were there for us, and we boxed tha and, our rucksacks, etc. That time it was 08, pack 08, not rucksacks, but pack 08. So we were all ready. So 2-3 days it took me to get used to my own platoon that I was deployed in, and I was meeting up with the JCOs and men, knowing what was happening. They were digging, they were taking their equipment, practicing, rehearsing, or various drills that were still taking place, and war could break out any time. So 10 guards had mobilized from Sagar to this area as part of 115 Infantry Brigade. 115 Infantry Brigade was commanded by then Brigadier Kaul, and my commanding officer at that time was Wanchu, was Lieutenant Colonel Wanchu. So in my interview, the first interview that I had with my CO, Lieutenant Colonel Madan Mohan Wanchu, and he says, Rajiv, you have come to the battalion at a time when we are going to war. War is going to break out. I said, great, I mean, that's everybody aspires for it. He says, you are lucky. you are seeing the war in 13 days or 14 days. You've come to the battalion and you are going to be entering war. Just 13 days of service. And I, as your commanding officer, and they were young commanding officers with 13, 14 years of service. And he said, I am seeing war for the first time myself in my 14 years of service. So learn much, just, meet up with officers and men, blend with the team. This is your family. And be ready to do whatever task is given to you, even as a young second lieutenant. And I am with you. So all that motivation talk and then meeting other senior officers and mobilizing ourselves. And my company commander again was Colonel Khanna, then Major Khanna, and my Sahayak, who was a helper in the batman. I knew he was not a batman because he had hidden my uniform or hidden my belt or hidden my cap and making me run everywhere. And after 3 days of ragda that I got in the battalion, the initial, even during war, or just prior to war, I realized that he was an officer himself who was disguised as a batman, and that's how we were embedded into the battalion.
Okay.
So those initial reflections before the war started, I'm just sharing with you. There are a couple of things which are very distinct in my mind, in my memory. The first was the visit of the Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Along with her was our chief, then General Sam Manekshaw. And the area was an open space in Nabipur, and officers were called over there, especially second lieutenants, young officers, were all called to hear them out in their little talk that they're going to be giving to us. And our CO and other senior officers told us that you all go and mingle with them and talk to them during tea. Just speak to them. But that talk of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, that talk of General Manekshaw was not more than 15 minutes combined, but such a brilliant conversation. It was a brilliant motivational talk both of them gave. And then during the tea break, we went and mixed up with them and talked to them. It was nice engagement. Meeting our friends, some of our course mates, some of our seniors, 1 or 2 year seniors, meeting them over there in that open space during that darbar, you can say, that Sammelan. And then we moved back to our respective battalions. I remember Khetarpal was also there, Arun Khetarpal. He was also there, and I met up with some other colleagues of mine. Because Khetarpal and myself were good friends in the academy. We were same company, in single company in the Indian Military Academy. So met him also. And then we moved back to our battalions. So this was around the 1st of December or so, 1st or 2nd of December. Maybe 30th November it may be or something, I don't remember the exact date. But come 3rd of December 1971, we were on our defensive posture. We were just digging our shallow trenches. Suddenly I find 5 Sabre jets fly past our location from Pakistan side towards our side. What's happening? I mean, these guys have come in. I mean, it's difficult to distinguish an aircraft. But this was directly in front of us. That means from Pakistan side they came. And no more than 2 minutes later or a minute later, we heard the anti-attack guns firing. They had targeted Pathankot airfield. And we could actually see a kind of a Diwali happening. This happened at about 4:50 or something in the evening. Winters, getting on winters, so Punjab is very cold as it is. And here it was around 4:50 that I saw these 5 fighter aircraft fly past us. And they offloaded their bombs and their ammunition towards that side. And that's the anti-aircraft guns started firing.
Was your battalion
so what happened in
at that time?
Not strafed at that time, no. I'll tell you later. Strafing was later.
Okay.
So here, this firing that was going on in the machine gun belt, anti-aircraft machine guns that are fired. The guns that are fired, they have got a tracer bullet. Every 5 bullets, they've got a tracer bullet, right? So that tracer bullet shows you the direction where the bullets are going. You see, that's the way that they used to adjust your weapon systems, that you had the anti-aircraft guns.
I think 1 in 5 bullets are tracers.
Yeah, tracers. That's what I said. 1 in 5 are tracers. Every 5th bullet is a tracer. So we could see a pattern emerging in the skies, like Diwali. Absolute Diwali, you could make out, and you could hear the firing. It was quite a distance away, but you can see it, it's visible. And after another 3-4 minutes, these 5 aircraft flew back across our positions, back towards Pakistan. And after another 2 or 3 minutes, our own aircraft flew, went chasing them almost, you can say. They must have done the target practices and whatever into Pakistan, and we knew war had broken out. And our aircraft also came back. I think most of them, all of them came back safely. But we knew that war has broken out now. 3rd of December, around 5 o'clock in the evening, by 5, when this happened, the entire tamasha. And we started digging our trenches and preparing ourselves. And sure enough, that night, midnight, around 11:45, we were told that the Prime Minister will be addressing the nation from Parliament House. So the Parliament was in session, and Mrs. Indira Gandhi, at about midnight or 5 to 12, I remember, we were in our radios. We had those radios only. We had no other communications. So the radio, while hearing Mrs. Indira Gandhi. No, that was a separate. But our normal radios that used to carry, pocket radios, and, good old days, kya naam the wo, Philips ka bhi tha, and some other small radios, chote batteries wale. Right. So we were listening to the speech, the talk of Mrs. Indira Gandhi to the nation, and in that talk she declared war against Pakistan. So that we were saying that this is what happened. So this was night 3rd, 4th December 1971, that war broke out, and we were part of it, and fortunate to have been part of it. Yep.
Now, sir, I would like to ask one specific question, like 3rd or 4th of December, the exact location where you were, if you could tell me, sir, so that I could mark it on the map when I'll be showing it.
Okay, now we were in the area close to the Lassian Bulge. Okay. Close to the Lassian Bulge, which is in Pakistan. That's in Nabipur, and Lassian Bulge is the first target that we had. So that's the location of our battalion. And we were given orders to be prepared to move into Pakistan, to move into the area and capture portions of the Lassian Bulge, a village which was, I don't remember the name of the village now, I don't have my notes with me, because I'm sitting in Australia right now and speaking to you. And but that village, Qadian was the name of the village. Qadian, something like that it was, that we were to target that. And firing had started off. We were being fired upon, and there was aircraft strafing, flying, not strafing at this time, but flying across, you could see. And we at night only, our movements were restricted to the late hours in the evening, morning stand to, and etc. as young officers. And I was just like a raw second lieutenant with experienced troops, with experienced soldiers, with experienced Subedar, Havaldar. Everybody had a lot of experience. They had fought the 65 war also, most of them. And they were veterans. And here, young second lieutenants joining them. So they were guiding me like a kid, And I was very gracious. At the same time, I used to carry, I remember I was even carrying my various digging tools, which normally your helper will carry, but I said, no, I'll carry myself. And I had this big pack 08 with a blanket and a ground sheet, and we had the emergency rations, and we used to carry our tool kits, shaving kits, etc., and other stuff that we carried, and also most importantly was the ammunition. So we had the pouch belts, and pouches were filled with ammunition, and all that we carried, and I carried just like any other soldier. So that was my bedding in. I think I'm very happy that that opportunity came my way, because it was very important to get embedded into the system right as a second lieutenant, which even today, after after almost 54 years,
54.
is still as fresh as before. Everything is coming back. When I speak or when I write about these things, everything comes back to me as fresh as mine, because one has experienced it in the infantry with my battalion going to war. And so this was the preparations of 3-4 days, I think, and it was night 6th, 7th night, or night 7th, 8th night, when we were told to move across the river Ravi. We get into Lassian Bulge, we capture our objective that was just across the river, Ravi River, and it was so cold. We think we started our movement into the water maybe around 10:30 at night, or close to 10:45 at night, and Ravi the water was biting cold. So here were the tanks firing, giving us the direction. So it was dark, it was a pitch dark night. And they were firing with their tracer bullets also, and we were then going through the water. And I'm reasonably tall at 6'1". So it was above my waist, almost close to my chest level. Not really chest, but a little lower than chest level of water. So we were walking through with firing going on both sides of our passage. And we crossed over in about, say, 25 minutes. We must have crossed the river. 30 minutes we crossed the river. Because all that is being done, in warfare, in war, or any other drill that you have. These preliminary movements of marking the lanes between which you're supposed to go, of checking up the water, engineers check the water, it should not be deeper than so and so, so that you can wade through. You're with your ammunition, you are with your pack 08, everything is on you. Your food is with you. For 3 days we got the rations, that you may not get food for 3 days. So all that was packed up and we moved across. Now, Dev, I must tell you that moving across was cold, but okay. But the enemy opposite, you're not sure. Where the hell is the enemy? One. And we were not getting orders to attack. So we had to wait, just having crossed the river, for almost till first light. So we must have crossed around by 12:30, 1 o'clock. The whole battalion had crossed over. 1:30 we were organized. But that wait period till about 3:30, 4 in the morning was the cruelest part that I think one could have, because you're wet.
Right.
Your uniform, your dress is wet.
Completely
You're
wet. You're cold.
completely wet. And the breeze is blowing. It was so bloody cold that it was such a difficult moment to just, be there at that stage, and then to be prepared to attack the post in the morning. So first light, or before first light, we launched the attack. Fortunately, the enemy by that time had moved back, had withdrawn. So there was 1 or 2 guys only who we captured. Rest firing was going on, but not so much, because it was like a hard-hitting mobile team who had MMGs and RCL guns with them firing at us, and then they moved away. So we captured our first post, our first picket, and then we stopped there for the day, because daytime there was no movement. It was again at night. And that same night again, we dug our shallow trenches, because if the enemy aircraft come and strapped, or when the shelling would take place, you needed some place to get under the ground.
Get some cover.
So shallow trenches of 2.5 feet, and the soil was okay, so it was not rock hard or something. So we've got those gathi and belchas and all those digging tools with us that we carry. We quickly dug that. Then somebody would make a cup of tea or something and then serve it, and then we send out a patrol. I would take a patrol of 4 or 5 guys just to fan the area. Somebody else would take a patrol to have a look at the area, to make sure. And there were a lot of sarkandas and a lot of
Tall grass.
Tall grass.
Right.
A lot of tall grass, and there was a lot of sugarcane, standing crop. That's where people hide in those areas. So we have to scan those areas.
I think you
And I
can
remember
easily hide a
having-
company there.
You
Very
can. I mean, it's not that because it's very vast. It's very vast. So all that took place, and then we were moving. Every night we moved. We carried on moving, not very long. It would be about covering a distance of 5 kilometers, halt for the night again, because the movement was very slow, and the tanks were leading, and there was minefields laid, so some tank would blow off, and suddenly somebody's leg would blow off, and so there were sporadic mines also. But the tactics of Pakistani forces was that they had their hard-hitting mobile teams. They would fire from one position, go to another position, fire from there, and then withdraw, go back, again deploy. And this carried on for almost about 7-8 days. And from a distance, we could, of course, hear the sounds of the artillery guns. First, you would see a flash at night. So you would see a flash, and we knew that the shell would be coming towards us or whatever. Then you would hear a sound, tuck. And if you heard the whistle of that projectile, then you were safe. We became used to it. शुरू में 2 दिन तो बहुत डर लगता था. I mean, we were straight from the IMA. We said battle inoculation हम लोग करते हैं, but that is not with live bullets. This is live bullets, live firing. So it's so different. Now, as a result, it must have taken us 24 hours or less to become battle inoculated. Then we would decipher, not feel scared at all. There was absolutely. But the initial thought was definitely you were scared. Scared everybody is. In war is a dirty business. Nobody can say, I don't feel scared. But it takes you a couple of hours to get used to that firing. Then you're not bothered. Then you're not scared at all. So we became experts to get to know whether the shell is landing close to us, then we would duck down immediately. Or it has gone past you because that whistling sound carries on. If the whistling sound carries on, that means the projectile system has gone behind you. Nothing to worry. Another thing to realize is that if the sound stops, you see the flash, you hear the whistling sound of that projectile. If it stops, that means it landed somewhere close by. Now, when it lands, the splinters of the bomb, of the shell, goes at an angle of about 120 degrees in front, not in the back, right? So, अगर ऐसे गिरेगा, then it goes forward. It goes forward,
like this.
not at the back. So that's what I'm saying. If you heard the sound go past you, you are safe. Even if it has gone about 100 yards ahead, you're okay. Then nothing will happen to you. The splinters won't come. Unless it is an airburst. An airburst is the cruelest form of a projectile hitting you. It can hit you anywhere. So this, through practice and through etc. of experience, that we actually developed this sense of where the bomb or the target has been hit. Has it come to you? Has it gone past you? The next thing, if you're asking for experience, I'm just continuing since the thoughts are working and carrying on. We were given the target. We were given that night, one of the nights, I think it was 10th night, 10th, 11th, or 9th, 10th, to capture a post, capture Nurot. Nurot is a small village which was leading to Shakargarh. From that road which was linking up from Nurot to Shakargarh, so the whole brigade, it was a brigade attack, and our Alpha company of 10 guards with Major Verma, Suresh Verma, he was the company commander, he led, and they lost 3 boys also in that attack, but they managed to capture that post from one part of Nurot. Another part, grenadiers went in, and third part, somebody else went in. And 14 horse, the armored regiment, was in support of our operations all through. It was part of the Orbat of 115 Infantry Brigade. And 14 horse was Sindh horse, very reputed regiment, And their CO got the Mahavir Chakra also in the Battle of Malikpur.
Right.
So I remember after capturing Nurot, we were deployed ahead. Now, the tanks, they need cover. They lead the operation, but when they have to take a harbor at night, when they have to stop at night, then they need infantry around them, right?
They are big targets.
So the big targets.
Yeah.
So we were moved ahead of the armored regiment or the troop that was with us, and we deployed there for the night. And you won't believe, the early morning, 11th morning or 10th morning or 11th morning, suddenly somebody started firing at us from the back. What the hell, have we just occupied this place, and how can we miss the enemy? And we realized it's our own tank who were behind us started firing at us with their machine guns, not with their.
It is close to friendly fire.
It's like a friendly fire, exactly, because that's the fog of war. They thought the enemy had come. They suddenly realized. Whereas it was us. Then we put a white flag, yeah, it's us, yeah, and the firing stopped. And then there was this kind of faux pas also takes place. After that, there was another village which my company, Bravo company, along with a troop of Sindh horse, was asked to move and lead the advance. So we started moving towards that village, and we got again big firing from a village called Malikpur. Then the entire squadron came up, and there was a tank battle, a very major tank battle that took place at the Battle of Malikpur. And we were slightly behind them, and they were firing, and our recoilless guns, purane zamane, maza aata tha, RCL guns, would go take up position in one place, then fire, then come to another place and fire. But the tanks did a commendable job. And the commanding officer himself was leading the attack, along with some others from the regiment. And they, I think, smashed 3 Patton tanks. They captured some guys also from the enemy regiment. And we also lost a couple of tanks, I think. But that Malikpur battle was a very big story in 54 Division. And similarly, that time, Arun Khetarpal's, Red Pune House was also was carrying on their operations in another front, not in our front, but different front, different division. But they were also moving, 54 Division. They were also moving, and the idea was from both sides moving in. That battle took place, and Arun lost his life also in that operation. He got the Paramveer Chakra. So this was the Battle of Malikpur. Now suddenly after the Battle of Malikpur, we were again asked to move forward to a place called Fatehpur Afghanan, the village, along the Bai River.
Okay.
Now Bai River is a river which is just before Shakargarh, right? Mm-hmm. So our company was given that effect of moving on towards Fatehpur Afghanan. Now there was a troop of tanks leading, we along with them at the back, moving along. And while having gone about 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers, suddenly I find the tanks coming back. And I asked on the set, ANPRC 25, I said, why are the tanks, with the guns towards the enemy, moving backwards? And we were quite stunned, really surprised. And we said, no, we will continue our movement without the tanks also. We continued moving. And we were told, and I saw that time, that one of our tanks was burning. And one Second Lieutenant KJ Singh, I still remember his name, from Sindh Horse, from 14 Horse. The Cobra missile, that is the Pakistani Cobra missile, had hit his tank. It went to the copula and went through him. He died instantly, obviously. It was a terrible death for him. When that took place, the leading tank was shot. Then the other tanks started, moving back and reorganizing themselves. That's the time when our company commander said, what do we do? Should we attack Fatehpur Afghanan? Because that seems a little increased strength of the weapon systems and maybe of troops also. But he took a call and he says, we'll attack from three fronts. Not two, but three fronts. And each platoon, company means three platoons. So three different directions we assaulted. We assaulted and there was firing, MMG teams were firing at us. But except one casualty we got at that stage, but we could not capture anybody. They withdrew. These Pakistani troops withdrew. That was Battle of Fatehpur Afghanan, which was pretty good from the infantry standpoint. And then we took our trenches and we dug up our places and the armored followed up. And early next morning, we were asked to move back to our battalion location on the main axis of Nurot, Shakargarh. And our battalion was relieved by another infantry battalion of Jack rifles. I think it was 4 Jack rifles, or 6 Jack rifles it may be, whichever one. But they relieved us and then we moved towards the main side, along the Bai river only, towards this village where the battalion was located. And this must have been around the 11th or 12th early morning. So when we moved there, we again joined our battalion and we were deployed along the Bai river. From there, the orders were given that afternoon. The orders were given, you could see Shakargarh. The orders were given from this chimney to that chimney is your objective. You can't make out with the night, but I'm saying daytime, but when it was 3 o'clock in the evening or 3:30 when the orders were being given, and from a little vantage point where you could see the enemy, not enemy locations, but you could see the village or the town of Shakargarh. And that night was the operation, right? Now, during that period, when the operations orders were being given to the battalion, it was called the O group, the order group, that is the company commander, the 2IC, and second lieutenants like us also hearing on, these Pakistani aircrafts came and they strafed us. Now, that was my most deadly experience I've ever had to date of these aircraft attacking you. Very few of us have got that experience. Very few, to be honest with you. Everybody doesn't get strafed. There were 2 or 3 of these aircrafts, Sabres or whatever. Sabre jets. They would climb up and they would dive down absolutely deep. And that sounded deafening. And they just fire like this, with the cannons and then again pull up. Now,
and you are helpless.
What
you can't
happened?
Shoot back.
Well, I'll tell you that story. See, we were in our trenches, in that little dugout that we've done. They're called shallow trenches. We were in those dugouts when these things, we could see those things coming at us, and they would fire and, well, we didn't get hit. But my Lance Naik, he was Lance Naik Gyani Singh, something, his name was Gyani Singh. He, in his Punjabi, abused them as if they could hear, but he got out of his trench, took out his LMG and started firing at them. Now it was because of that firing, because you could see that flash, those fighter pilots, they made swirls and came back and targeted. And ultimately they did throw a bomb which came on our MMG detachment, and that MMG, Naik Ghisaram was there and he died, of course. The entire MMG detachment was blown up. Huge crater was formed, huge crater. But that strafing, I'm saying, was the deadliest of deadly. 15 minutes, it must have been 15 minutes when they came, those 2 or 3 aircraft. And we had nothing to do really, besides our LMGs, light machine guns. MMG you can't do that, no? But LMG you can lift. This guy, Gyani, had lifted this LMG, started firing at them. And that's where actually this thing had taken place. And it became an experience, sort of. Once it is finished, it's a great experience. But it was very scary. Anyway, so when that happened, that night was the attack. Now that attack, a night earlier, there was a lot of firing on the Bai River, in which 4 grenadiers not four, I think it was, yeah, four grenadiers. Four grenadiers, their company was ambushed, their platoon was ambushed. And there was some casualties there and there was a lot of firing going on. Our officer, Tulsia, Second Lieutenant Tulsia, along with his company and his platoon, also did patrolling in that area, and they were ambushed. And they also ambushed a Pakistani patrol, and there was exchange of firing. They also killed some Pakistani troops. Tulsia got a Veer Chakra for that operation.
Right.
So this happened the night prior. Now during this story of, I told you about these sabers doing a lot of funny tricks with us, of strafing our positions. And that night was the attack. We were in the forming up place, you can say. It's called the assembly area, not forming up place, assembly area. From there we were to move to the forming up place to launch the attack across the Bai River. And that order was just not coming. So we were in our assembly area for good about maybe 2 hours, and there was such shelling that was going on from Pakistani side. A lot of shelling that was taking place, and we had casualties. The Pakistanis had fired very heavily on our positions, and the attack could not go that night. So we were asked to move back before first light, move back to our own defensive positions, and we could not capture Shakargarh because that was very heavily fortified, and there were a lot of casualties on our side also. That is, all the battalions. Our brigade did suffer casualties, and so did the others from the other brigades of the division and the other divisions also. So Shakargarh could not be attacked that night. And then we moved to another location, from which by that time there was a sense of Bangladesh, not Bangladesh, East Pakistan. The surrender Dhaka ceremony is taking place on the 16th afternoon, but on the 15th the announcement was made that there will be ceasefire from the 16th onwards. So there was no attack thereafter on Shakargarh position. But what happened was that the ceasefire was to take place at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
Or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, it was 7 o'clock in the evening. Maybe 6 o'clock. I mean, I'm just getting a little mixed up. Maybe 6 o'clock in the evening was ceasefire, right? On 16th.
Right.
Now, between 5 and 5:30, that half an hour, we fired all our shells possible, our artillery. Such intense firing was going on, intense firing. And obviously the primed shells had to be loaded, offloaded. So but from 6:30 to 7, 7 was ceasefire. From 6:30 to 7, the way Pakistanis fired at us was, I think, the maximum fire that we received as compared to the entire operation. That so many casualties took place that day. But exactly at 7, dot at 7, Indian Standard Time, 6:30 Pakistan time, or 7:30 Pakistan time, ceasefire, no firing. Exact to the dot. That's how we knew that the war is finished. It was a 14 days war, intense war. And this was a story of 10 guards in 115. And there were, of course, other stories of Cham sector and Rajouri and Punch. There were different stories to talk about. But this was the area of Shakargarh battle and the area of 10 guards in through capture of Nurot, Malikpur, Fatehpur Khanan, to clear this axis of Nurot Shakargarh. So that's how I was very fortunate to have participated in this war as a young second lieutenant with just 14 days of service. And that's the story that I have up to the war of 16th. Post that, of course, there were other activities that continued. No firing, but patrolling. And I remember for Christmas, my CEO said, you go to Pathankot. So I remember that from my post. Then there was another Christian officer. His name was Douglas Putta. And he and myself both in our vehicle, went to Pathankot, and we saw a movie maybe on the 20th, 26th, 25th, or 24th, 25th night, had a little partying time and all that. And we came back on the 26th, back to our post, and after seeing me off, Putta was senior to me. He was also a second lieutenant though, and he was a year senior to me in the academy. So he was going to his post also, and he walked into the minefield and blew up his leg. He blew his leg on the 26th of December. It was really very unfortunate because
very much.
the minefield was there, and a year later actually he died also because of the infection that the treatment was not proper or whatever. Anyway, that was the story of the post operations, immediate post operations. Then the story was that when we got leave after that end of the year to go for 3-4 days to your homes and all that, some of us went. But before I tell you about this, I forgot one very important story. On the 17th of December, 17th of December, early morning, hordes of civilians from Pathankot, Gurdaspur, far off places, they came with their trucks, trolleys, and started looting the stuff. Pakistani. We were already in Pakistan. Looting, absolute looting the villages. They were taking whatever the furniture was there, the crockery, cutlery. Because you know what happened when we were capturing these villages, you won't believe in Fatehpur of Ghanan, the food was on the stove when we captured those villages. They had moved, the civilians had moved out just very, very a few minutes before we actually arrived there. And there were so many cattle dead there, so many people who had vacated and moved out. So soon after this, on 17th May, our own people came forward and they said, in 48, our villages were looted like this. We want to loot all the villages. So we said, you can't do this. But there were so many of them, and we did not want to create a shimazo. And then the instructions came after 2 days, but 2 days was absolutely free for all. They took away cattle. I don't know, one guy, I remember carrying about 18 to 19 cattle, taking them to Punjab. They said our villages were looted like this also. And everything was available in those villages, you know. And it was those 2-3 days till about this 18th night or 18th evening. 19 civilians were stopped completely from coming. So this is what happened on the 17th, 18th night, which I forgot. And then I told you about Putta. And then went on leave, and that time on the railway stations, on the roads, people would crowd around, stop our vehicles from going and giving us sharbat and giving us a gift. Those little girls and boys from schools would come to railway station and thank us with small cards being made and flowers being given. Some souvenirs, we had some shells, shelling ke pieces pade the, wo de do unko. They feel so thrilled and excited. So this was a very good fervor for about 10-15 days after the war, when we got such respect from the world, from the country. And what happens after that is different stories. You know, people just forget about the army. So we stayed there in Pakistan, the area that we captured, till almost 73, mid-73.
I think
Right
till
to
the
72
Shimla agreement came into effect.
No. After Shimla Agreement. Shimla Agreement came in 72,
72.
right?
Achha, after that.
72.
Right.
We remained there till 73 April or May, when we were told to move back and give back all the territory that was captured, especially this huge plains territory of Shakargarh and the area right from Samba onwards, south towards this area of Shakargarh was then given back to them, and we went through. So that's the story of my experience of 71, and of very briefly that I've shared. I've not gone to such nitty-gritties of patrols, how we carried out the patrolling, and the food. There was no food, but even when we had captured and gone across, There was a lot of good food also available. We used to cook. Our sahayaks would do a lot of, helpers would do a lot of work, get the chicken and make the chicken for us and give us hot food or tea. Those are all morale boosting events that take place. So there's a softer side also, but great stories. And the mails that we received that time, chithiyan aati thi, it took a long time for letters to come. But even during battle, we were getting letters from home and from our friends. And yeah, that carried on. We used to write letters in those Air Force, these envelopes, they were called the military envelopes, envelopes, they were Indian letter forms. Indian letter forms. We used to write over there, green and red. There are two different kinds of letter forms that we were given, which would be pasted and sent off. But the mails kept on coming all through the war. You didn't have time sometimes to read them. So after 2-3 days, you would get them and you would read them quickly and get your morale in place and carry on.
Right.
So these were some of the stories that I thought I'd share. Yeah, on 71.
Now another thing I would like to ask you, sir. Did your battalion get any battle honors or any kind of recommendation for their performance?
I would say 10 guards at that stage got award of Veer Chakra. We got one Veer Chakra. The awards were a little limited here because even Mahavir Chakra was expected for even Major Verma. He did a very good job with the Nurot cattle. Those stories are different, but no, we did not get any battle honor as such for this operation. And but we got the Veer Chakra there, yes. And then I was actually, before we could move out, in 73 January itself, moving back was around April, May of 73 that the battalion moved back to India. I mean, left the Pakistani side and moved back. Before that, my posting had come as a second lieutenant, the only second lieutenant, to be posted to a new regiment, that is the Jammu and Kashmir militia then, J&K militia, which became a regular regiment, became Jakalai.
Jakalai, right.
Right, yeah. So I was posted to 8 J&K militia. And I feel very fortunate because that next question that you will ask me, I will tell you about my next tenure. I mean, after a year and a half with 10 guards, only a year and a half, not even a year and a half, year and 4 months I spent, but I spent during the 71 war with the battalion. And now, even after 54 years, I am still very closely attached to 10 guards.
That's your parent
because
battalion.
Of battle. And 8 Jakalai, of course, is my home. That's where I had gone from there to Gurez sector. Very difficult. First time seeing snow and being moved to snow was 8 J&K militia that time, which later became 8 Jakalai. And if you want me to continue quickly on this issue also, post that, or would you like to ask any more questions?
I would like you to continue, I mean, with the rest of your career in the army to your tenure, I would say, in the Kargil war also.
So, I'll tell you, I went to 8 J&K militia, which became 8 Jakalai.
Right.
And I feel very privileged and proud of the fact that both 10 guards later, many years later, in our Blue Star, was awarded the Ashoka Chakra.
Okay.
Right? 10 guards.
Right.
There was one, Major Raina, he got the Ashoka Chakra. Highest civilian award was 10 guards. The CO, Israr Khan, was awarded the Kirti Chakra.
Brigadier Israr Khan, right. I've heard
Israr
of him.
Khan. Yep. So he was commanding the battalion that time. And 10 guards relieved 8 Jakalai in Jalandhar.
Okay.
Right. No, I'm just giving you a story.
Right.
I was not in the battalion at that time. I was posted in commando, I was instructor commando wing at that time. But 10 guards relieved 8 Jakalai in Jalandhar. And from there, 10 guards went for the operation, the Blue Star. And 8 Jakalai had gone from there to J&K and was tasked to capture Qaid post in Siachen.
Okay.
and we got the Paravir Chakra. So in 87,
Honorary
we
Captain
captured
Bana Singh,
Qaid
right.
Post. Bana Singh. Bana Singh is from my battalion. I was with the battalion at that time. So I'm just saying that it's such a proud privilege for me to speak on the fact that my battalion of commission got the Ashoka Chakra, and my present battalion, or the battalion that I was there, and I commanded 8 Jackali, in Siachen, got the Ashoka Chakra, got the Paravir Chakra, Bana Singh, and one of the boys who went along with Bana Singh for the operation of capture of Qaid Post at 21,153 feet. His name was Chunni Lal. He was a rifleman that time, a sepoy, a rifleman. He got the Sena Medal. And subsequently in another operation, 10 years or 5 years later, 10 years later, he got the Veer Chakra.
Okay.
And 10 years later, he got the Ashoka Chakra posthumously. He was killed in that operation. He was the most decorated soldier of the Indian Army, who got an Ashoka Chakra, who got a Veer Chakra, and who got a Sena Medal. Sena Medal was along with Bana Singh, and the other two were in different geographies. One was in Punch, when he got the Veer Chakra, and in Kopara area, he got the Ashoka Chakra. And he is the most decorated posthumous soldier in the Indian Army. And we feel so privileged, and he's from my battalion. He was from my battalion.
Wonderful.
So we had our operation of Siachen, a very major operation that took place and made history in warfare in high altitudes. When we captured Qaid Post, and after 3 months, Musharraf, then a brigadier, launched an attack 3 days and 3 nights on us, trying to capture our neighboring post of Banatop. Qaid Post was renamed Banatop, and Ashoka Yukat, and I was there at that time. When they attacked us for 3 days, 3 nights, they couldn't capture. They suffered very heavy casualties. And, we got the maximum awards ever received by a battalion in a single operation. In Siachen, we got 1 Paravir Chakra, we got 1 Mahavir Chakra, we got 7 Veer Chakras, we got 1 UYSM, we got 10 Sena medals. I got a mention in dispatches there in Siachen, and 70 commendation cards. That was the
70.
largest story, 70
70.
commendation cards.
Wow.
So that was a huge story to tell, and even to date, everybody knows the 8 Jackali. Everybody knows the 8 Jackali's operation of Banatop. Now, post that, again, various tenures, and I was in IMA, as adjutant IMA also. And after that, I was commanding my battalion, 8 Jackali. And then I was given the command of commanding 56th Brigade. Before that was Kargil. In Kargil, I was handling, just moved out from Kashmir, and I was moved to Mao for a few months before I was called to Delhi
Okay.
to be part of the cell which was handling the media. It was called the Army Liaison Cell, and there was an ad hoc cell created for the operation. So I was with that cell and creating all the media management that we were doing. The media war was fought by us, entire media war in Kargil. And I was to be traveling to Kargil with the chief. I was to be moving to Kargil from Drass, Kargil, all those battle areas. And it was very close to me, because ultimately, just after the war was over, I went on promotion to command the brigade in Drass. So I commanded the Drass Brigade, 79 Mountain Brigade. And I walked all those heights of Toroding, Tiger Hill, and 4875, and seen the entire thing. So Kargil and Drass sector, especially Drass sector, was my sector. So during Kargil, I was handling the media, but in location also. And post Kargil, I was commanding the same brigade. And that's where I got we captured a post called 5070, and that's where I got the YSM, the Youth Seva Medal. I got over there. My battalion commanders, 2 battalion commanders also got a YSM. One of the battalion commanders rose up to be the Army Commander, Northern Army. He retired as he was the DGMO during the operations, and then he was the Army Commander of Northern Command. Thorough gentleman. Ranbir Singh is his name, General Ranbir Singh. He was one of my battalion commanders also, who got the YSM at that stage when I was commanding the brigade. Yep.
Wonderful, sir.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. And I would like to know a bit about your life post-retirement, if you're okay with it, sir. Sharing a bit.
Quickly, yes, we'll wind up because it's getting very late for me here.
Okay.
But
Absolutely.
so I left. I took voluntary retirement in 2005.
Okay.
After Kargil, after commanding the brigade in Drass, I was BGS Northern Command of the Northern Command for a few months, and the chief called me back to Delhi to handle the media again. It was the DDGPI, so I became the DDGPI, which later became the ADGPI.
Okay.
Today it's called the ADGPI,
ADGPI,
right?
Right.
Yeah. And so we started that off, the entire thing I started
Okay.
off. So I feel very ownership is all over there, you know. And then I took voluntary retirement in 2005 from that position itself. And immediately I came into the development sector. A development sector, very few were coming into the development sector, but I chose, I said, whatever. So I joined an international NGO first. It was CBM, and I joined them for a while. And I learned how we carry out development work with the communities. Because this is something which even in Drass, when I was there as the brigade commander, we did a lot of work in Sadbhavna, a lot of work around development of the local communities.
Right.
Because you are positioned in a place, you are there because of the local people, protecting local people. Unless they are with you, how do you propound the fact that they are your informers? If you respect them, they will respect you.
Right.
And I have so many stories to tell during my brigade command tenure also, how we did Sadbhavna in a very proactive way, where the chasm between the military and the civil was reduced through interactions, through building trust, and that paved a lot of goodwill. So a lot of work was done. And that is nothing but a kind of a corporate social responsibility. Army social responsibility in that
Right.
case. That time the word was not there, but I'm just saying it was how you interpret. So when I left the army and I came to the development sector with the communities, I learned how the management systems work of funding a project, how you link up with communities. And Jindal then picked me up immediately to head and start their corporate social responsibility for the group of Jindal Stainless Limited. And I was not professionally qualified from that standpoint of an MSW and those educational. But I learnt, and I think right in the stage that time CSR was just coming to India in 2007, 2006, 2005. And I deep dived into it, learned the mechanics of it, and was part of the entire process when this bill of Companies Act 2013 became a law in 2014. That corporate social responsibility became mandatory for the corporates to spend 2% of their profits into the community work. That was corporate social responsibility. So I stayed with Jindal for almost 17 years thereafter. I was heading the division of corporate social responsibility, creating, and it was such a beautiful experience that I was very fortunate to have been part of raising this division, this community systems in difficult areas, different geographies, especially Orissa, where a greenfield project was coming up. And unless you had a symbiotic relationship or a relationship with the communities, you would not get the license to operate. So Tatas were also into the same area of Kalinganagar, in the area of Orissa. Jindal's plant was already up and about. Tatas had not even started the boundary wall. Because there was showdown, 30 people got killed in 2007. So they could not even do very much. But once it started off, Tatas, they've done hugely. So there was a lot of learning, there was a lot of things that were packaged into it, and I worked around developing communities in education, healthcare, women empowerment, community development, human rights, business and human rights, and in fact created a CEO forum of business and human rights with Mr. Narayanamurthy as the chair, and I was the convener. So I learned a lot with Mr. Narayanamurthy at the international level, the national level. And finally, the UN invited me to speak at Geneva and New York and all parts of the world that I traveled for. In 10 years, I traveled in how many countries, and on their invitations. So it was a great experience, and today I'm in Australia, still I'm continuing with this. But now after exiting from Jindal, I'm now a consultant to CSR and sustainability and issues around it. I write a lot. My book was released last year, end of last year, in December, on military experiences and values. It's valor and values, military experiences aligned to corporate social responsibility, to CSR. That's a symbiotic relationship between army social responsibility and corporate social responsibility. The similarities and how we've been able to develop. So that's my book, which has come out recently. Earlier, I'd written a book on Siachen, The Long Road to Siachen, The Question Why, along with Kunal Verma. Both of us have written that book, and that's done pretty well. And there are other books that I've written also on IMA and my own regimental history. And one of our books on corporate social responsibility in India was published in Bonn, Germany. And I've done a big chapter on that. And last year, another book on 10 years of mandated CSR. Again, I have a chapter in that, which is after, in 2014 it became an act, and 10 years later, last year in April, this book was released by Bhaskar Chatterjee, who was the father of CSR, you can say, in India. And my chapter is also there. So it's nice to keep on writing. I write a lot of military affairs, and especially the recent Op Sindoor also. My article is published in Force magazine, and other articles that are published at other places on relating. I have very different thoughts on different issues. I love to do what I'm doing. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. And thank you so much for your talk, especially on the 71 war. Thank you for taking the time to speak on this matter, sir.
Thank you. Keep me informed. Let me know what you're doing, and on mail or on WhatsApp or whatever. Right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye, and
Bye.
good night from here. Bye.
Good night.